Hello, hello. I hope you're doing wonderful and welcome to day number 6 on the Road to 2000 Rapid Elo series. I'm on a bit of a win streak right now. We won our 4th game, we won our 5th game, and hopefully today we're going to get another win in the bag. I am recording this right now during the middle of a Twitch stream. So I am currently doing a subathon live on Twitch. If you want to check that out, the link will be in the description below. Um, Also, just so you know, I am currently running on less than 3 hours of sleep for 2 consecutive nights in a row. So it's very possible that my chess is not going to be at its greatest, but that's not an excuse, and I will do my very best, and hopefully we'll get a good result. So, without any further ado, if you like the videos, definitely please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Definitely like the videos and comment, share your feedback, share your thoughts. I love hearing everything you guys all have to say. And let's get started. Let's hop into a game. Let's do it. We're currently at 16-16 elo, which is not bad at all. I'm playing with the black pieces against somebody from Greece, 16-14 elo, so we're right around the same rating. He's playing e4, I'm going to be playing e5, and we're going to go into an Italian. We've been playing a lot of Italians. And the Gioco Piano, as I played in the past. I'm playing this knight f6 move here. I expect maybe d4 to come in. Instead, d3 happens. Here I can castle. I can also go d6. I think d6 makes a lot of sense. And if ever my bishop is attacked, I can always slide backwards. I like going a3 in positions like this, although it's not really necessary right now. So I don't see any big reason to play it. Usually I like playing bishop g4, but bishop g4 in this scenario doesn't really make too much sense, just because I can't really add extra pressure to the knight with the move knight d4, and that's the idea behind c3. So I'm going to castle on the king side, and my plan is very likely going to be going to bishop e6, and being okay with the doubled pawns, but having a stronger center. Here he's offering a bishop trade, so he has a similar sort of plan. And I don't really want to allow the bishop trade. Do I? Hold on, I have to make a decision. So I can go bishop b6, which opens up my rook. I actually like that. I like that. I like the idea of going this way. If takes, then maybe bringing my knight over, going c6, and then going d5, and building up a pawn chain. So let's go backwards. Let's see if he takes. This is the game plan for now. I also have to remember there's no increments, so I do have to play moves relatively quickly. We're going to stick with our idea, so we're going to go knight e7. This queen move doesn't change anything along those lines. And here now, let's go knight g6. Just because I don't want to allow this bishop to double my pawns. And afterwards probably playing something like h6, for example. So let's see what we got here. I don't have to play h6 right away. I don't plan on moving this knight. This knight isn't going to go anywhere. I can always just go something like... Okay, well, not anymore. But c6 still looks like a very logical move to me. Maybe it makes more sense to go rook e8 first, just to solidify this pawn in the center. Even though I have the knight defending on e5, I think it just makes sense to go rook e8 to further strengthen this pawn, and now play something like c6, and then probably something like d5. If my opponent lets me. My opponent is not letting me play the moves I want to play, which honestly, kudos to him. That's usually how you're supposed to play chess. I think going bishop e6 makes a lot of sense, so I can reinforce this pawn push onto d5. So let's see what happens. Okay, big decision time. I have the option to take this pawn, allow this trade. Actually, no, I don't. Sorry. The knight's covering the square. So if I take, right now he has 2 defenders. I have 2 attackers. So I can take this pawn. Is this good for me? It doesn't seem bad. I could just play something like bishop to a4, a5, sorry. That looks like an interesting move. Bishop a5 looks like a very interesting move. Let's play this. Let's play bishop a5. No, hold on. I gotta think. Maybe we take first. If knight takes back, do I care about this bishop being lost? I kind of do. Maybe I should play something like this. I don't know. There's a lot of possible moves in this scenario. This is very, very tactical, it looks like. Let's think. Here. Drops this pawn. After knight takes back, so that doesn't work. I'm gonna take the pawn on d4, I believe. So let's go with this. And this pin is very annoying. So I'm gonna just try to play h6 and see where my opponent goes. Maybe first I can even take this knight, threatening to take my bishop. But honestly, my light squared bishop is not that big of an asset right now. I think h6 makes sense as a move. Just asking my opponent, hey, what are you gonna do with your knight, with your bishop? I am starting to run low on time, so I gotta play a little bit faster. Okay, so we're going for a trade. I can't take with the rook because then he has this move, which is very annoying. So I have to take with the pawn. Not ideal, but it is what it is. Not ideal, but it is what it is. And I don't like my position very much, to be honest. My position feels like it's hanging on a thread. If I can, I'm going to try to go 95. Just so I can prevent... Okay. Not what I expected as a move. Now I don't feel like I'm doing too bad anymore. Because if I get the rook on f8... Oh, did I drop a pawn? I dropped a pawn. Okay, well, I dropped a pawn. Which is never what you want to do. But honestly, things could be worse. I can play rook d8 now and claim control of the open file. I think that makes a lot of sense as a move. So let's do that without thinking too hard about it. He can try to go after... Oh no, he can't really go after this pawns. So yeah, I mean, we've got quite a lot going on because I can go probably to rook d2 and start attacking both pawns and creating this big threat. I actually really like this move. Let's play it. I don't see a downside. The only thing I'm trying to calculate is e5, but knight takes, and it looks just totally fine. So hopefully I'm not missing anything big. I am down to 5 minutes on the clock. It is a rapid game, though. I have plenty of time to think. But I'm pretty much bringing this big attack onto f2. And here I can actually take, I think. I got to calculate this. Honestly, like I said, my idea was that knight can take, though, on e5. I don't know why I would take with the bishop and entertain all these ideas of trading and stuff. If I take with the bishop, the king has to probably move out of the way. I take the queen. He takes my queen. I don't see an easy win. I think this is a lot better because I still maintain the same attacking possibility. So let's just play knight takes on e5. And, okay, now I see what he's trying to do. Does this bother me at all? Not particularly. Oh, wait. Oh, shoot. I missed that completely, actually. This is a fork. I'm probably going to have to sack the bishop. Most likely. Do I have any other moves? Boom, 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 boom. Let's sack the bishop. Let's do it. I think this is going to be a loss. I didn't really think too hard about that, to be honest. Not ideal, obviously. Now the thing is, if knight takes, I think I'm doing okay. If rook takes, then it's a little tricky. Let's see what my opponent does. Okay, rook takes. That's a little annoying. Because now I can't take with the rook, because then the knight can take my queen. Yeah, I'm going to probably have to just come up with something very random on the spot. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. This is not looking too good for me, honestly. Bound to happen with a stream like this. Knight f3, maybe? Trying to play for queen takes on b2. Just trying to make something happen, honestly. We're just giving some random tactical shots and hoping for the best, but honestly, queen takes, and even if I take on b2, I think I'm just getting crushed. Just because they have this check on f7, and that just wins them my rook back anyways. But let's see. You never know. I wonder, I probably should have actually gone for the move that I said before. I probably should have played bishop takes right away. Because the king can't move out of the way. The rook would have to take, or else they'd lose a queen. And that would have been pretty good. My opponent's still thinking, so that's a sign that, hey, maybe there's stuff to consider. Okay, now here, like I said, I'm going to play queen takes onto b2. And my opponent's going to have to move their rook. So we at least have some semblance of counterplay, at the very least. When my opponent... Oh, my opponent doesn't move the rook. Fascinating. I guess... Okay, yeah, they didn't have to move the rook. I stand corrected. Here, I wonder what you block with. The knight. Okay, but don't I have pretty solid opportunities to... I guess not. Queen check doesn't really do anything. The rook here doesn't do much because of this bishop. I gotta take care of the bishop, so I'm gonna just go a5. I think I'm completely lost, to be honest, but we're just gonna try to cause some problems. Let's go to h8 now. He's trying to go for this. Can't allow that. For obvious reasons. Oh. Yeah, this is probably going to be a loss. We're going to drop right back down to 1608. Honestly, I'm fine with it. I just wanted to commit to doing my video for the day, even though I feel super tired. Let's see. What can we do here? Maybe I can try going this way. No, that's too much of a trappy move. Also, he can just take my pawn. What if I just go e5? I don't know. He's gonna try to crash through the center, maybe? See if we can make anything happen. He might even sack a rook, to be honest. Okay. So if I go here, then he has this move. Let's try going checking with the queen. And then maybe playing something like queen d8, for example. So then if he moves this pawn forward, then I have rook e7. I'm probably going to get flagged, honestly, which is not great. But it's entirely possible. It do be what it be sometimes. But who knows? Maybe I can complicate things, bring it to a tight game towards the end, and steal a win. You never know. Rook f8 looks like a... Wait, what? Oh, I should have thought a little bit more. Okay, Rook f8. Rook f8 looks crushing. Hold on, hold on, hold on. Folks, don't look now, but don't call it a comeback. I have 1 minute and a half left. He can just take my this pawn, and then it's not obvious because I'm still down several pieces. But I will have a queen in this endgame. Guys! Hold up! Hold up! It ain't over till it's over. Okay, wait, I'm kinda hyping up. There's a chance, there's a chance. My 3 hours of sleep, the energy's getting to me. Rook f8. I should have seen this move before, but let's take a look. Let's see what my opponent plays. But I do have a chance. I think my opponent's best move is bishop takes on e4. And then I'm going to have to play pretty quickly. But there is a chance. And when there's a chance, you love to see it, you know? You just love to see it. Okay, my opponent's thinking pretty hard, which is always a good sign. Maybe even queen takes rook is better and then takes the bishop. Although I think that is not as good. So maybe he's deciding between bishop takes or queen takes. I think queen takes is worse just because then I have this threat of taking the knight. So let's see. Spending a lot of time to think. There is a chance. There is a chance. I'm technically still going to be down in material because after losing a rook and the pawn, that's 6 points in material, and winning 9 points back, I'm only getting 3 points in total. So my opponent's going to be +1 at the end of this trade. But hey, this is why in chess you never resign. This is why in chess you never resign. You never know when your opponent's going to make a mistake. Oh. Wow, this is cool. Even if I lose this game, honestly, I'm proud of at least finding resilient moves. Because I think it's very easy to just give up and just play tilted moves when you're losing. But wow, my opponent's really thinking very hard. Maybe my opponent rage quit, honestly. It's very possible. My opponent did not rage quit. I don't understand the logic behind sacking the rook. Oh, okay. I see. My opponent has the move queen here, which is not a bad move. But I mean, I'm still fine. I'm still fine in this position. Not only am I fine, I can force a queen trade, and in the resulting endgame, I do think that I am slightly better. Because afterwards, so queen here, queen takes, rook takes, he has to move the knight, or I can even go rook here instead, but I think I'll trade queens, and we're going to just play a quick endgame, and then just try my best not to blunder my rook. Because he's probably going to have to move his king, which means I can defend this pawn. Or he moves the knight. He can do either one. If he moves the knight, I think he's worse. He does move the knight. I do think he's worse now. Because I have this move here where I can win this pawn, and now this is a huge threat. So now this is a huge... This pawn is a gigantic threat. And I think I am just better. We're going to push this all the way. I have 46 seconds left. My opponent does not seem to be very good with time, which is definitely an asset on my side. We have a check. We get a queen. Let's go. Let's go. This is a dub. This is what we call a dub in my book. My goodness. What a game. What a way to keep a win streak going, man. Hoo, hoo, hoo. Yo, that feels so good. I can't lie, that feels great. That feels phenomenal. Oh my goodness. We're gonna just go here. He can't protect the knight at all because he has a light square bishop. Oh, actually, he can move the knight, but I mean that's pointless. And folks, looks very much like we got a dub on the menu. I have to make sure not to stalemate. But it does seem like I will be able to get the victory because he doesn't have any moves besides King A7. Hold on. I have to make sure. I can play here. He has moves because he has pawns on the board. And now this is just checkmate. And that's GG's. Let's go. My Twitch chat is right here to watch as well. What a game. What a game. Did you guys see that? My goodness. That feels incredible. My opponent made one mistake, and one mistake is all it takes. Let's do an analysis. Let's check the game review, and we'll be right back. Wow. Wow. I don't really know what to say. That was an insane game, and I guess it is time now to analyze. Let's see exactly how that happened, because my goodness, wasn't that something special. The game started with a typical Italian. We've played the Gyoko piano in the past on this series, and we played this again. E4, E5, knight F3, knight C6, bishop C4, bishop C5, and then this move C3. And we went into the pianissimo line, which is this move D3 followed by D6, castles, and then bishop E3 was played here. I decided to step backwards with the bishop and not take the bishop trade. And over here, my plan was to move my knight out of the way so I was able to play C6 and then D5. And when my opponent played bishop G5, it kind of, in a way, helped me move my knight to the best square. The engine says I'm already minus 0.7 with my knight going to G6, and it's a very natural looking move because it moves your knight to a stronger square. It allows you to go D5 by protecting the pawn on E5, and it also avoids the bishop capturing your knight on F6 and weakening the king, because now if the bishop captures the knight, the queen takes back, and so the king's defenses are maintained. Here my opponent decided to go bishop B3, and I wanted to push for this C6 D5 idea, so I decided to go rook E8, which wasn't necessary because I did already have this defense of the pawn on E5 with my knight on G6, but it's never a bad idea to activate a rook, so, you know, you can't really hate that move too much. Here, knight A3 was the best move for white, but white decided to play C4, and that is why my opponent moved their bishop back to B3 so they could play C4. And I went with my plan, C6 and then D5, but my opponent, credit to my opponent, knew I was trying to play D5 and played this move, knight C3, which allows the defense of the D5 square. And I guess, on retrospect, that is probably why they went C4 and then bishop B3, so that they can have this C3 square available for the knight. Here I decided to reinforce the square on D5 by bringing my bishop onto E6. And now the first major decision of the game happened here, when my opponent went for a pawn break by going D4. I elected to take this pawn, but what I missed was that I had this really nice idea of going bishop G4. If I had gone bishop G4 here, that obviously targets the knight, and not only does it target the knight, it targets the knight and threatens to double the pawns in front of the king and weakening the king's safety. If you try in this position after bishop G4 to protect with another piece, let's say bishop back to D1, then I have the option of just taking after bishop takes back. This pawn on D4 is only defended by the queen now, and is also defended on my side by the bishop, and therefore I'd be up a pawn in this scenario. So there was this really nice idea to go up a pawn. I didn't spot it. I instead took the pawn on D4, and after the knight takes back onto D4, I decided to go H6. I wanted to make sure that this pin wasn't possible, And with the bishop not being able to go to h4 because of my knight, I could free up my queen to activate it. So I did play the best move, h6. Here, knight takes bishop was played, and I decided to take back with my pawn, not with my rook, and a very important decision. If I took back with my rook, I saw that I would run into this move, c5, which both attacks the rook and also attacks the bishop, and you'd probably be down an exchange in this scenario. So instead, I took this pawn on f6. The bishop took here on to f6, and now if I take with the pawn, I keep the defense of this pawn over here on d6, but my king is severely weakened, and so I decided to take with my queen and giving up this pawn on f6. After the queen takes the pawn on d6, sorry. After the queen takes the pawn, I'm actually significantly better if I can find the best move in the position, which is knight f4. And knight f4 blocks the queen from coming back to the defense of the king. Knight f4 not only does that, it also allows for a very, very strong attack to be built. With something like, imagine just knight f4, queen g5. If the pawn goes up, you even have this knight g3, knight h3 idea. So lots of dangerous stuff. And with the bishop already looking right at the king, sorry, I can't draw arrows. With the bishop already looking right at the king, you got some very, very tricky stuff going on. I totally missed this idea. I instead decided to kick out the queen and send it back to g3, and then went for this rook d2 move, trying to build an insane amount of pressure onto this pawn on f2. And my opponent found a nice little move here, e5, which forces me to move my queen or to take the pawn. And what I didn't realize is that I should have moved my queen. When I took the pawn, I completely missed, and this is a very simple maneuver, and sometimes it happens to just about anybody. I missed this move, knight e4, which my opponent plays, and forks both my rook and my queen. And here's when, during the actual recording of the video, you guys realized I said, well, I'm losing. Damn, let me just try something. And I did try something. Here, I decided to go, hey, let's check. Let's force my opponent to make a decision. Bishop takes on f2 check. My opponent plays the best move in the position. Rook takes. If knight takes, which is something I was not too worried about, although I should have been, because it's still worse. If knight takes, then I had the move knight, I thought, d3, which looks like it adds a lot of pressure onto the position. But anyways, rook takes, which I found kind of annoying. I decided to check with a knight, and then to take this pawn on b2. And black is completely losing. If you look at the engine, the eval on the side, white is actually +7. +7 in this position. That is crazy. Here, my opponent took the rook, and I decided to take their rook with check. And my opponent plays a good move, blocking with the knight and not losing the knight. So here, I'm down 4 points of material, but the situation is terrible for me. I decided to just toss in a bunch of stuff and see what happens, going a4, a5, trying to go a4. If the bishop takes the pawn on a4, then queen takes on a2 is on the board, and at least I can like try to create something. But my opponent goes for the kill with queen f4, trying to threaten queen f7 check and then winning the rook on e8. And yes, my opponent actually had mate and 8 on the board, which I did not see. If my opponent had just gone queen g6 and then gone for this idea, it's almost impossible to stop. That is kind of crazy, because if you look at it, my king has almost no space to get away. My king is completely immobilized on the h8 and g8 squares after queen g6 is played. So I got lucky that my opponent didn't realize that they could completely close down my position. And here, I moved my king to the side to prevent queen f7 from being as big of a threat. Here, my opponent went rook h3, and I decided to go e5, just push pawns, and I didn't give up. I think that's the biggest thing. I did not give up on the game. My opponent had a checkmate in 4 moves, by the way. Rook takes, pawn takes, queen takes on h6, king g8, And then c5 comes with a discovered check. And I only have one legal move, which is rook e6. And then bishop takes is literally just mate. So that's a mate in 4 that I had lost on the board. And somehow, some way, not giving up, I found a very, very, very nice sort of resource. In this position, my opponent's trying to set up a checkmate by taking the pawn on e4 and going queen h7. And here I find the move rook f8, which is the only move in the position to stay in the game. And the idea is that if the queen moves out of the way from the rook, then it is checkmate and black wins, because rook takes on f1 is mate. Now, my opponent has 2 ways to get away from this, 3 ways technically to get away from this. The one I considered first, which I thought was the best one, is bishop takes on e4, allowing the rook to simply take the queen and then taking the rook afterwards with the bishop, and essentially winning a pawn and a rook for the queen. I thought this was probably the best option for white. My opponent found the best option, and I did not realize this. So kudos to my opponent. One mistake, but a lot of really good moves otherwise. With taking the pawn on h6, and the last option was just taking the rook directly with the queen and then snapping up the pawn. Although snapping up the pawn wouldn't have worked, as I mentioned during the recording of the video, because if I take back on f8, then I'm threatening checkmate. So here my opponent finds the best option, which is taking on h6, after pawn takes back, e5 check, and you keep the queens on the board. And now traded the queens, and now I have a rook against a knight and a bishop in the endgame. So kudos to my opponent for finding that. But here, just one other big mistake, going knight g3, and I find the single best move by going to f2 and taking this pawn on a2. And if you look at it, the last square on a1, is a dark square, and my opponent does not have a dark squared bishop, so my opponent's only hope is getting a knight or a king onto covering a1 in order to stop the promotion of the pawn, and that seems like it's going to be an impossible task, because if you look carefully, you can't really stop me from checking your king and then getting that promotion in, and that is what happens. And afterwards, it was fairly clinical. I went to queen c7 here, and this is checkmate in the next move, and my opponent resigned. And honestly, I am still a little shook about what happened. What a wild ride. I had a really low with hanging the fork of the rook and the queen, and I had a really high with being able to fight back and eventually win this game. And we are now at 1624 rapid elo. So we're on the path to hitting 1700 by the end of the month, which is my goal for the month of October. Let's see if we're able to pull that off. I'm very excited for the rest of the series, and I have a classical tournament coming up just 4 weeks from now. So this is great practice for me on a daily basis. Once again, if you guys have any feedback, any comments, any recommendations, advice, or if you just want to share your thoughts, please do. I really appreciate all the support I've gotten on the video so far, and honestly, it's really fun to share this journey with all of you. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will catch you tomorrow. I am also going to be live probably on Twitch for the next 6, 7, 8 hours, maybe even longer. It is a subathon, so we don't know exactly when this is going to stop. So definitely drop by. Come say hi. If you see the video, you haven't checked out the Twitch channel yet, come say hi. I'll be live, and we can chat a little bit about the games. So with that being said, have a wonderful day. Take care of yourselves, and I will catch you in tomorrow's video on YouTube. Adios. Take care. Goodbye.